Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us today on the show a man who's written an extraordinary book. He's a teacher. Teachers don't get paid a lot of money in our today's, but he's talking about how he's prospered because of something that he does. And you want to find out how come, because maybe you don't have much money either, but you want to know how to prosper, and he'll tell you. Well, keep the Iran nuclear deal. That's the message for President Trump from French President Emmanuel Macron, who's visiting Washington today in the next several days. Macron says it's better than letting Iran become another nuclear threat like North Korea.
Well, the Trump administration is also taking a hard line on North Korea, saying it will have to start getting rid of its nuclear program before the U.S. eases up on sanctions. Heather Sells brings us this look at how the president will be negotiating the nuclear deals.
President Trump has promised to walk away from the Iran nuclear deal by May 12th unless co-signers France, Germany, and Britain fix what he says are its serious flaws. Both the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, and the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, will visit the U.S. this week, urging the president to save the deal. The 2015 agreement curbs Iran's nuclear program. Macron told Fox News it's not perfect, but argues there's no good plan B.
What do you have as a better option? I don't see it.
The president might just listen to Macron. The two have bonded over their shared maverick reputations, and the White House recently thanked France for joining the U.S. military in airstrikes against alleged chemical weapons facilities in Syria. The Iranian foreign minister is also warning against scrapping the deal, saying if the U.S. quits it, Iran could actually ramp up its nuclear program.
We have put a number of options for ourselves, and those options are ready, including options that would involve resuming at a much greater speed our nuclear activities.
At the same time, the president and others are dealing with another international nuclear issue as they prepare for a summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un and tamping down expectations. On Sunday, the president tweeted maybe things will work out and maybe they won't. And the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee stated denuclearization is unrealistic. Senator Bob Corker believes Kim Jong-un has no motivation to give up his nuclear ambitions.
To think that somebody's going to go in and charm him out of that is not realistic. Is there some progress that can be made? I hope so. But, you know, that's a big hurdle.
The president does have some leverage. A senior administration official told the Wall Street Journal that the U.S. will not substantially lift sanctions against North Korea unless it significantly dismantles its nuclear programs. Over the weekend, Kim Jong-un said he is closing North Korea's nuclear test site and suspending long-range missile tests. Those are two promising signs ahead of his summit with President Trump. The president will soon have to make his final decisions on how to negotiate both with North Korea and on the Iranian deal. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thanks, Heather. We'll look at that. I tell you, the president is a tough negotiator. I hope he can hang tough on this one, but it's going to be hard to do. But Senator Corker is probably closer to the truth. What is the incentive for North Korea to give up that stuff? Well, maybe because they haven't worked out the re-entry of some of those missiles. That's the possibility. But maybe they just want to get back into the world community and all the benefits that offers them. That may be the carrot that can be held out to them. Well, in other news, police in Tennessee are calling a man a hero for saving lives when a gunman opened fire in a busy restaurant, Waffle House, near Nashville. Ephraim Graham has that.
Pat, James Shaw Jr. says he only made a split-second decision to challenge the shooter during the attack at that Waffle House Sunday and says it was a selfish act to avoid being killed himself. The gunman, suspected to be a man named Travis Ranking, was nearly naked and brandishing an assault-style rifle when he opened fire in the parking lot and then stormed the restaurant. He killed 4 people, injured 4 others. He was still on the loose as the day began today. James Shaw forced the weapon from the gunman during that attack yesterday, realizing it was a life or death situation.
I'm sorry I couldn't get to the guy any faster. People say I saved a bunch of lives, but there's still, people that died, so it still kind of hurts, and I saw those people.
More details have surfaced on Ranking's troubled past and possible mental illness, including an arrest last year by the Secret Service for trespassing near the White House. Authorities say police confiscated his weapons during that investigation, including that AR-15 that he allegedly used at the Waffle House. But investigators say Ranking's father got those guns back and gave them back to his son. Barbara Bush was remembered as the First Lady of the Greatest Generation as thousands came together to honor her life at her funeral Saturday. Her son, Jeb Bush, and others praised the beloved mother and grandmother during the ceremony in Houston.
She was beautiful till the day she died.
She believed in and practiced the principles of honesty, tolerance, decency.
President Trump did not attend the funeral to avoid security disruptions, but 4 former presidents did attend, including Barbara Bush's husband, George H.W. Bush, her son, George W. Bush, along with Presidents Clinton and Obama. Former First Ladies Hillary Clinton, Laura Bush, and Michelle Obama, and First Lady Melania Trump. In her last days, Barbara Bush introduced many Americans to a new phrase, comfort care. Lori Johnson shows us what's involved with this end-of-life decision.
Not everyone chooses to fight their health issue to the bitter end. Some people, like Barbara Bush, opt for what's known as comfort care instead. Also known as palliative care, comfort care is when a patient decides to end intensive medical treatment. It does not mean the patient stops all medical care. As the name suggests, they still receive ones that make them as comfortable as possible, retaining their dignity.
We can't choose when we'll die. God has numbered our days, but we can choose how we will approach that death. If we believe we're going to see God, we're going to see all of our loved ones again. But there are also a lot of other issues that pull on us, some that make us want to stay and continue to work for the Lord.
We sometimes hear about people with terminal cancer choosing comfort care, but Mrs. Bush had congestive heart failure and the lung disease COPD.
It is both physical care, emotional care, and spiritual care for the person who's going through the death process and for their loved ones.
Comfort care is when a patient instructs their doctor to go against the urge to extend life at all costs, costs that can be quite high. In fact, a reported 25% of health expenditures among people over 65 usually occur in the last year of life. The difference between comfort care and hospice care is that hospice is for people who are not expected to live longer than 6 months and typically involves fewer medical treatments, while people receiving comfort care can live longer. Health experts say now is the time to discuss end-of-life issues with our families and make our wishes known. It's not an easy conversation, but one that could minimize a lot of problems down the road. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Not an easy conversation indeed. Pat?
Well, it's not, but I commend Barbara Bush. She was a fabulous lady, and this move toward comfort care is exactly the way to go. The amount of money it costs for heroic effort to extend somebody's life for a month or 5 months or something like that, it's just not worth it. It's wrong. And Barbara Bush saw that and said, look, just make it easy on me. I've got congestive heart failure. I've got all these other problems. I know the end of my life is coming. I'm what was she, 92 years old?
Well, and her son said that she was so comfortable with the end of her life coming, that she knew where she was going and she was confident about that.
Marvelous lady, but just the idea, look, don't use heroic methods. I mean, you can spend thousands of dollars. You can actually bankrupt your loved ones in those last few weeks of life. It's not necessary. But then they have hospice care and other things like that. But it's important, I think, to recognize we all are going to die. We all are going to die. Now, there's sometimes that people are strong enough, they can live many years after an illness, which is great. But if you know it's terminal, the doctors know it's terminal, everybody knows it's terminal, do what Mrs. Bush did. That comfort care is the answer. Make them as comfortable as possible and, you know, bless them as they depart this life. I mean, it's just the way you do it. Okay.